Hello, my dear book lovers. Now, you might have already seen in my last video that I just got to pick up two books at the book fair, and that's honestly not really the best feeling to have, especially when you are a book lover. And that's why I decided to go book shopping and get these from Kinokuniya. Now, the reason to go there was pretty straightforward. I had a feeling that because they did not have all the good collection at book fair, somehow I was feeling that they might have a better stock at their own bookstores, and that's why I decided to go there. So, without any further delay, let's dive into the haul. So the first book that I got is The Ghost of Howler's Beach. This is a middle grade book in paperback edition that I picked up, and the story and the names of the characters in this book felt quite intriguing. So the main character is Butter O'Brien, who is actually the grandson of the King of Australia in this particular book, but he's pretty well versed. He's not one of those grandchildren who are not versed with the realities of real life and hardships. He's pretty much well versed with them, and he got to know that there is an island nearby which is occupied by ghosts, and that's why it's isolated and no one really wants to visit there. And the next day what happens is the people with whom he used to play on the beaches, they suddenly disappear, the children especially, and that's why he has decided to uncover the mystery and find out the truth behind the ghostly island. And the next book on the list that I pick up is Truthers. This is actually a hardcover edition. Firstly, let me just show you how the book looks. It has an inner grey covering and also a little bit of detailing at the front, if you can see this. And this is actually a mystery thriller book that revolves mainly around a protagonist whose father has been submitted into a mental asylum. While he's admitted there, he actually claimed that this was a government conspiracy which involved the terrorists, and because of that, he is now admitted into the mental asylum. And basically, he's also claiming that her daughter, Katie, who is the main protagonist in here, she's the sole survivor of all this conspiracy. And now she's basically confused whether who's telling the truths, and while she's at it trying to discover the facts and the fictions and distinguish between the two, she's trying to uncover the truth basically to get her father freed from the asylum. What she doesn't know is that there are people following her and they would really want to stop her from discovering the truth and revealing it in front of people. So it's a thriller around those aspects. Very excited to read this one. And the next book on the list is Pony. Now, I have absolutely no rhyme and reason why I picked this up. I just looked at the cover and it reminded me of Black Beauty, which is a classic book, and I really thought I should give this a try. It's also had a beautiful hardcover. And while I read the blurb of this book, let me just read out to you instead. It gave me a bit of ghostly magical feel, so I really wanted to try this. So, here it goes. When Silas Wood wakes up in the dead of the night, he watches powerlessly as three strangers take his father away. Silas is left shaken, scared, and alone, except for the presence of his companion, Mittenwool, who happens to be a ghost. But when a pony shows up at his door next morning, Silas knows what he has to do. So begins the perilous journey to find his father, a journey that will connect him with his past, his future, and an unknowable world around him. And let me just take the opportunity to show you the inner cover as well. So cute, right? It's good. Initially, I was thinking that there are certain yellowish lines around here, but when I look closely at the cover, you can see now that it's part of the cover design and it's just scattered yellowish inks in there. It's not an old copy, it's just the way the design looks. And next on our list is Death's Mistress. This is the first book in the Nikki Chronicle series, and I decided to pick this one up because it's a fantasy book. It has magic in it and it has enemies to lovers trope as well. Now, before we venture any further, let's just drop 2 seconds to admire this beautiful cover. Beautiful, isn't it? Even more than the story of this particular one, I actually have a favorite stanza in the blurb category that I wanted to read out to you guys so that you have a better understanding of this book. Nick has a past. Once she was a sister of the light, and once she was a sister of dark. Once she was a tyrant's most feared lieutenant, and once a savior's most loyal ally. Once she swore to destroy a man, and then she fell in love with him. April has actually been my month of fantasy as I'm reading one after the other back to back and I'm loving all of them. And that could probably be the reason why I'm being dictated towards fantasy books so much because the next book that I have in the list is also a fantasy. The next book that I got is Vicarist, and this is described by the bookseller as a dark gothic thriller, and it immediately intrigued me. The story in this particular one is around a young girl living in a mansion house that is secluded by the city, and her mother is basically dead. She is living there with her creepy father, and the house in which she is living actually has secrets that have been buried in there for centuries. There is witchcraft, there is ghost, and there are a lot of other magical elements that actually made me grab this book immediately, and it was screaming for attention, and I of course had to pick it. Well, there is one more thing that actually got my attention. Of course, this is beautiful, no need to say otherwise, but did you look at that? And it's there at the backside too. The inner covers are so beautiful about this. And I did not really explore this author, so I was really intrigued to pick one of these works and guess it will be good. Now I'm headed to the final book in this whole book haul. That doesn't mean, by the way, that there are no more hauls to come. Definitely count on that. But because I was collecting a lot of wide array of books, I know a majority of them are fantasy because I love fantasy, but I do have thrillers and I think I have middle grade too. I decided to pick one non-fiction book too. So this is something that really catched my eye because of the topic around which this book is situated. It's about how your brain basically reacts and how the overall process of human healing, the mental healing works across in the brain and what kind of discoveries were made when they were actually trying to understand the overall synergies between the human mind, your brain, and the body, how they basically collaborate to actually initiate the overall healing process of one's mental stability. And that's what this book is about. Really interesting chapters in there to read in. And I thought I should give this a try, especially considering non-fiction. I think any topics related to human mind is what I find the most interesting in a non-fiction category, and that's why I decided to pick this up. And that, my friends, were all the books that I got recently, and that was my book haul concluding. Shedding over to the next part, there was this toy expo that was also going around, and I really wanted to check it. And though I'm not really a big toy kind of a fan, I thought I'll just take you along with me and just check out the Disney specific collections in there. There were a lot of other toys as well, so hop on with me to that. And while we were there, I actually went across and saw this store that had a complete array of Disney related products, especially the merchandise around book sleeves. There were t shirts, mugs, holders, and all those things. And because I was guild shopping, I thought, why not get something from here? And a particular product just caught my eye, and here's what it is. So, this is a goblet of fire kind of a mug. It's quite classic when I talk about the shape, very old school, reminds me of those 80s and 90s kind of designs. And at the front it actually has a design of Cruella, if you can see correctly, if it just stops shining and focusing properly. So it has Cruella at the front, and if you remember the movie 101 Dalmatians, Cruella was there, and then there was a remake of this movie as well. And it has been one of my childhood favorite books to read as well because of the Dalmatian prints and everything. You know how children are. So I decided to get this and add it to my collection. So that also goes in here, and that's what all I got in. I hope you all had a really wonderful time watching these book hauls with me and coming to book shopping and to Toy Expo with me. I will catch up with you in my next video. Until then, keep your coffee strong and your TBRs long. Goodbye.